Welcome back to another episode on Manifesting Made Simple. This is our new series, Manifest Like a Boss, where I interview Kathleen Cameron today on how to turn garbage into gold. It's an amazing episode, and I want to put a disclaimer in here. We do start off the podcast laughing our bums off together because we were talking for 10 minutes without recording. So I hope you enjoy our laughs and this episode. You're listening to Manifesting Made Simple with Maddie Rose, the podcast that helps you unleash your innate ability to manifest intentionally. From spiritual boss babes to industry experts and beyond, we'll learn what it really means to manifest with ease.
We're not recording.
I think this is a good place to start the podcast.
You're getting my cackle out now.
Okay, guys, welcome back to another episode on Manifesting Made Simple. We're just recording for, 10 minutes. And we weren't recording. We weren't recording, but now we're back. And so
it wasn't meant to be recorded. It was only supposed to be between the two of us, apparently.
All right, love. So on this episode, I am so honored and excited to introduce you to Kathleen Cameron, dear friend and someone I look up to immensely. She has cultivated and created and I want to say just like exploded. In 2 years, she's created a 8-figure business, helping people understand their minds so that they can co-create their reality. And I wanted to bring her on today to talk about her manifesting methods, but also we are also going to dive into how do you take a really interesting, I'll call it experience, something that you couldn't have predicted, something that you may not be happy about, an experience or an event or a circumstance that just kind of comes like a tornado across your path, and turn it into something good. So I'm going to hand it back over to Kathleen to share a little bit about an experience that she had recently that landed her in the hospital for days and days and days. Kathleen.
Oh my gosh. So good. Thank you for the second time. So good. I noticed it wasn't recording. I'm like, maybe she's recording some other way. Anyway, this is such a good topic, and it's so timely because listen, we don't grow in the moments that life is hunky-dory and life is fabulous and everything's working out perfectly. We just stay comfortable in those moments, and we love what we're seeing with our 5 senses, and so we just kind of coast. But we know the law of rhythm says that there's always going to be ups and there's always going to be downs. And so how can we prepare ourselves for the downs, so to speak, which I don't often call it a down. I refer to it more as contrast, or something that's in contrary to what you want. So this is what happened to me. 2 years into my business, and we had done, I don't know, something like 17 million or something along those lines, crazy. And everything was really great. It was a new year. Decided I was going to be super healthy. I started walking every morning. I cut alcohol from my life. I cut coffee. I just started really fueling myself with really, really healthy foods. And so health was my focus. And then in May, I end up in a hospital with pneumonia in a different country. In the US, I'm Canadian. And then I was in there for 4 days. They let me out. I went to my retreat in the Bahamas, my first ever retreat I'd been looking forward to. I missed 2 days, and I got there 2 days late. And they had to get an emergency plane and take me back to Miami from Bahamas. And I had emergency lung surgery less than 24 hours later. And truly, it was one of the most challenging times in my life. I couldn't teach my clients. I had to take 4 weeks off from everything, and really, really focus on healing for sure in those 4 weeks.
Yeah. And so you had no idea this was coming. Like, to you, everything was hunky-dory, everything's going great. And so when you're in this and this happens, like, what is your thought process of knowing what we know, right? Understanding the mind, understanding how to think positively, understanding understanding all the things that we understand. How did you navigate through the pain and the contrast, as you called it?
So everything happens for a reason. So I'm going to tell you one little subtle thing that showed up in my world in February. I actually was in Barcelona, Spain, meeting with some one-on-one clients. And I ended up being invited to go to a dinner. And that night at the dinner, I met this man named Niraj. And he ran a breathwork company called
Mm.
Soma Breathwork. And I'd never done breathwork before. I'd never focused on my breath at all. And I went, oh, I would love to do some breath work. So we connected. We shared with each other on social media. He sent me a breathwork session to try, and I said, I'm going to do that. And I didn't do it. And then in May, I'm in hospital with something altering my breath, with my lungs full.
Mm.
So that's the first thing that showed up that was like, huh, this is really, really interesting. I didn't listen. And here I am, something in my breath being affected. The other piece too was I had started reading Happier Than God by Neil Donald Walsh. And I don't know if you've read that book, but it is one of my favorites. It really, really, it's lined right up there with Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard.
Mm.
And there is a chapter 12, that I thought was so profound when I read it. And it was before I was sick. And I actually like highlighted so much in that chapter. And I thought this chapter is a tool. It is a strategy. It is a resource for anybody that ever has contrast in their life. And it says why life becomes contrary. That's chapter 12. So I read
Mm.
that every single day while I was in hospital. I had that book next to me. It became a tool for me to remind me
Yeah.
that when you call in really big things, you also call in the contrast. And that was a really, really big learning for me. You know, if you want to be the light, you have to experience the dark to be able to be the light for others. So you and I both have experienced these things this year that have allowed us to see just what it feels like to be in the darkest moments, to allow us to relate, to be vulnerable, to actually speak from that place and be more relatable and be able to coach and mentor people differently. So honestly, that chapter was the key for me in getting through it, for sure.
Wow, what a catalyst. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's so funny, not funny. It's not funny when it's happening,
No.
but how, especially when you are in a coach mentor role, your life experiences become the thing that helps you help others.
Oh,
You are like the one to experience it so that you can help others not or understand it better, right?
totally. And I really understand this so much now that the more I grow and expand, the more I can be helping other people grow and expand. And it's not to say that I'm always going to be ahead of others. That's not what that
Mm.
means. It just means that I'm always continuing to examine my beliefs, my judgments, my emotions, and like, why is it that I feel the way that I do? And why am I experiencing the things that I do? Because that learning becomes the things for my clients that allow them to move faster. So I've always said with Bob, he blazed a trail that we were able to run on. That
Yeah.
I truly believe that. And so it's all his growth that he did, all of his learning and his awareness that allowed us to come here and understand this material in a different way. And so this journey this year has been all about that for me.
Absolutely. So
Mhm.
let's think about if someone's listening and they're not in a mentor coach role,
Mhm.
how, like, what would your be advice for them when they're going through stuff? How could they look at it? How could they perceive it so
Mhm.
that they're not feeling like the victim of their happenings?
You know, I think it's really, really important to understand that each and every one of us is here for a reason. And we do have a ripple. And what I mean by that is we all have something that we are here for and to do. Every one of us. If you feel like you're just like one of the 7 billion little ants on this planet and there's no meaning to your life and you're not here to do anything at all, then that feels pretty low. That feels pretty insignificant. And so I always encourage people to really see that they have been put here in this body for a reason, or they chose it, who knows? And there is a purpose, a thing that they're supposed to do. And so those experiences are what help us to grow into it, to become it, and
Mm.
then impact others. So we are always here to help others, no matter what it is, no matter what our business is, no matter what we sell, whether we're coaches, teachers, lawyers, real estate agents, whatever that is, we are helping someone else on this planet. And when you really step into the desire to help others, because that desire is coming through you from God, then you honestly, it allows your personal mind to go away a little bit, and the displeasure, people are in low vibrations because they're displeased with something in their life. And when I started to tap into the meaning of my life and the purpose of my life, a lot of that displeasure melted away. I was like, how can I be upset that, I maybe have a zit on my face today, and I have this big mission over here? Like, it changed it for me.
Yeah, it's like the context of your life becomes so much bigger than just you and just a day and just your
Oh
struggle.
yeah.
It's now a lifetime of a mission.
Yeah, and it's perspective and it's meaning.
Yeah.
I give meaning to the things that I want to stick around, and I
Mhm.
don't give meaning to the things I don't want to stick around. And then
Amen.
when I do give it meaning, I give it the best possible meaning. So me getting sick, I truly believe that that was something that happened to me for not just a small reason, but a big, big reason.
Hmm.
And that reason was my growth, my learning, and all that kind of stuff to be able to mentor people. But it was also an experience for me to realize that my body is an incredible vessel, and I can't fulfill my mission the way my vessel was. And so that was very, very profound for me. It was like, oh, I get it. I'm supposed to do this for a long time, and so I need this body to come with me for as long as possible. So treat it better. Okay, girlfriend?
Right.
Yeah.
Treat your vessel well, guys.
Oh, yeah. And this word, longevity,
Yeah.
just keeps
It's
coming
coming.
at me now. Yeah. Yeah. I'm supposed to be thinking about longevity. I'm not supposed to be thinking about just
Here and now.
today, right now, and the experience that I want to fulfill in this moment. I'm meant to think bigger picture, longer vision.
So good. So
Yeah.
I can already hear some critics saying, well, Kathleen, if you attract everything in your life, then how did you attract this experience?
This is so funny because I have a YouTube video coming out, or maybe it came out already. I can't remember. And it's how did I manifest my worst manifestation to date?
There you go.
Literally, like I'm making a joke about it because I do believe in the law of cause and effect. And
Hmm.
everything that happens in my world, especially in my body, was created by my thinking, and thinking that is not being invested properly. And so I know without a shadow of a doubt now that there was a lot of emotions related to some of the personal things in my life and my business changes this year, outside circumstance, so to speak.
Hmm.
And instead of allowing myself to become aware of the emotion that I was feeling and then decide, do I want it or not? Do I want to release it or not? And all that kind of stuff, I just pushed it aside. So I just pretended that everything was okay and that there was nothing going on. It was like, I'm strong. See, this isn't even impacting me at all. I'm amazing.
Mm.
Look. No, no. There was an underlying thought and feeling that perpetuated into my lungs. And when you look at the spiritual meaning of pneumonia, it's
Mm.
grief. It's grief.
Interesting.
Uh-huh. Yeah, unworked through grief. And so you're not always grieving the loss of someone in your life, but sometimes you're grieving relationships that no longer exist in the way that they used to be.
Hmm.
You're also grieving your past life, grieving the past version of you, who you used to be. I mean, I have had, last time we chatted, you used the word metamorphosis, and I was like, yes, like this has been a metamorphosis over the past 2.5 years. And
Yeah.
I don't really know that past girl. Like
Person.
I'm
Yeah.
the same person. I just see her so different. Um, so I think there was a lot of stuff that I just didn't allow myself to work through that showed up in the physical body.
Yeah. And so were you conscious that there was things that you weren't working through?
No, not at the time. Nope. I would talk to people and I would be like, I'm so proud of myself. Like I am doing so good right now, and then I can look back now because of based on how I'm feeling today. Just right now, I feel this lightness in my energy. So when I think back to like January, February, March, April, I can recognize that there was some sort of a little pit in my
Mm.
stomach somehow, but I wasn't sure like what it was, and I couldn't really identify it. Um, but now I'm like, oh yeah, I just wasn't working through it.
You can see it in hindsight.
Yeah.
So, if you could coach Kathleen in January, February, March, April, what maybe would you say to her to help her uncover those things? 'Cause I'm sure there's people listening who are like, how do I know if I'm not working through something? Do I have to wait for a traumatic event or can I dig into this before that happens?
Yeah, you know, one of the best things that that I did was actually writing my book. Was one of the most cathartic things was writing my book, and it was a positive book. So, I mean, I got to share my feelings around positive things in my life. But
Mhm.
now what I've started doing, and I would tell that Kathleen version to do it, is to write a book of my experiences as they were happening from that moment. And the reason I say that is because when you're writing, it's like, I don't want to say journaling, because I think sometimes when I say that I journal, that you're like journaling affirmations, or you're journaling this, or you're writing in a diary or whatever else. I just tell it as like telling my story. Like, so if I were to put this into a book right now and tell my story, what would I say? And when I start to tell my story to people, I often find myself saying what happened and then my interpretation of it.
Mm.
So these things, these shifts happened in my life and they made me feel this way. So anytime we describe a feeling, we're talking about the vibration that we're in. And so I didn't want to talk about my feelings with anybody. I
Yeah.
just wanted to say, no, I'm good. It's not affecting me. I'm not upset. And then sometimes what happens too is we talk about the circumstance, that the circumstance is the problem, and it's not. So for me, writing out my story has been super, super cathartic. And I ask the question all the time as I'm doing this. How do I feel about this? Like what is the feeling? What is the underlying feeling that I'm having about this situation that's occurring? So even with the surgery, like I asked myself, like, what is my feeling right now? And my feeling was that I'm in a lot of pain right now. This
Yeah.
hurts.
Mhm.
And I don't want to be in pain, but you have to acknowledge the feeling and then say, okay, so how can I shift? Instead of saying I'm in so much pain, I'm in so much pain, I shifted it to the pain is easing with every moment, because I couldn't quite say I'm not, I feel great. My body feels amazing. Like
You weren't there
when you're,
yet.
yeah. So I said that the pain is easing with every moment. And I kept telling myself that until I was like, oh, I think the pain is actually easing. You know, so you can do that with your emotions too. Like I will say, you know, I feel sad. I feel sad that this person is no longer my friend. And why do you feel sad? Because part of my self image might have to do with having friendships. And when a friend leaves your life, it makes me feel like I made a mistake, or I'm wrong in some way, or I'm bad in some way. And so see how I just kind of uncovered through
Mhm.
my feeling of sadness why it's sad. Um, and the other thing with that too is I've asked myself, like, when someone leaves your life, does it have to be in a bad way? Like we often think that it's bad if
There
someone
has
is
to be this tragic ending for them to leave.
totally.
Yeah.
But what if it's just we're now, our vibrations are operating on different places.
Our
We're not in
contracts are
alignment.
over.
Yeah, yeah. Call me later. Keep my phone number, touch base if you want in a while, but it doesn't have to be this get upset and mad sort of thing.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I love that. So to recap, in order to discover what you're really feeling about the things that are going on, what I'm getting, Kathleen, is instead of an experience that's crappy happening, and then you immediately saying, oh no, it's okay. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm happy and business is going great and clients are coming in. It's first saying, well, I'm really sad that I just lost 5 clients, but maybe
Yeah,
this week I'll get 10 more. But I am sad right now, and it's okay that I'm sad right now. So, but what can I start to think that I believe? I'm not just bullshitting myself with
yeah,
affirmations. I'm
yeah.
actually taking myself along this like vibrational journey of feeling better and better and better.
Totally. And it's asking the question too, okay, I'm sad that I lost 5 clients, but why am I sad that I lost 5 clients? Do I think I'm not good enough? I'm not doing a good job. I'm not worthy. I've made a mistake somehow? Or
Mm,
could it just be that those weren't my clients? They were
Mm,
meant to work with someone else. They're not my ideal client anyways. So we often create meanings and stories around these things. And so it never feels good, but we can shift it. We can shift. What I used to do, Madison, is for the first 2 years of my business, I taught that if you have a belief, create the opposite belief and then auto suggest or affirm the new belief.
yeah.
And just okay.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, hold on, there is a lot of
There's a
feeling.
journey.
Yeah. So now
Yeah.
for me, it's, be self-aware. What is the feeling that you're in right now? Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Uncover the underlying belief beneath that feeling. And then I ask myself, do I want to continue to feel this? And oftentimes the answer is no. So then you're able to create the opposite belief and,
Hmm.
affirm, auto suggest, whatever you want, that new one. But then you've worked through some of the garbage with the feelings behind it.
Right.
You're like cleaning house.
Right. You're doing the vibrational work, as Abraham Hicks would put it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because you can say, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy. But if you don't mean it and you don't feel anything behind that statement, it's literally worthless to your subconscious. So,
Well, yeah, and I got really, really good at convincing myself that I was wealthy, but I wasn't super clear on what I meant. Like,
mhm,
I mean wealthy as in money, yep. Success in my business, yep. Things, homes, trips, success in my business, friendships, relationships, all that kind of stuff. But I never really considered wealth in terms of health.
yeah.
And so it's interesting. It's interesting. And that's the part that was missing that I get now. It's really powerful.
So good. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that with us.
No problem.
So to wrap up, on this podcast, we always ask if you had someone in front of you and they were like, Kathleen, just tell me what to do. I want to manifest X.
Yeah.
What is your simplest advice you would give them?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to keep it super simple today. I have a 4-step manifestation, but I'm put it into 3 for you. The first thing for me, most people will start with a vision. So, what is it that you want? Create the vision. I feel like that misses a major, major component of manifestation because you don't know why you've created what you already have. So for
Mm,
me, self-awareness is number one. So to ask yourself, what is it about me and the way I see myself today and the way my thoughts are and my beliefs are that created my outside world today? And so it gives yourself, this is my nurse coming out, a baseline. This
gotcha.
is where I'm set to, this is where I'm programmed to. Then I talk about entering into the spirit. So being on the spiritual plane. So connecting through meditation, visualization, through your oneness with source and spirit and God, or whatever language you want to use, universe. Then creating a new intellectual idea. So you are aware of the old idea that you've been holding, create the new one. So this is where we're going to use our mind. I haven't really talked about the mind too much yet, but this is where we're going to have the intellectual idea, the new one. And then the last piece is to get into action. You must become the new idea. You have to
Mm,
behave in the way that the new version of you would behave. So many people don't change how they live in the 3D world at all. And so you're not becoming the new belief. So to me, that's the easiest steps.
easiest step. So awareness of how you got to where you've gotten.
Yep.
2 is
Let's say get into the
remind us,
spirit and then use your intellectual mind.
getting into the spirit, using your mind, right?
And then
Deciding, okay. And
three
then
is, yeah, action.
3 is action.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that because so many people sit there and they're like doing all the inner work because that's the easy part. And then when it comes to taking that inspired action that you get through entering into the spirit of it, of aligning, then you get that
Oh yeah.
inspired action. They're like,
Oh yeah.
is this right? Can I do this? Is this the right action? Is this the wrong action? And maybe
And
that's a good question.
totally. And one of the most beautiful things, I remember I had a beautiful conversation with Bob in his studio in June. It was right after my book came out. And I asked him, why was I able to change my life so fast, Bob? Like,
Mm,
why me? I've seen so many people who've been studying this material for years and their life isn't changing all that much, or if it is, it's slowly. Why me? He said, Kathleen, because you became what you teach. It
mhm.
went into my physical body. I embodied it. So that's why I use the language embodiment now since that day, because it's so true. I didn't just know it on an intellectual level. I live it now. It's my
Yeah.
truth
Yeah. It's who
as
you
a
are.
body.
It's how you see the world. So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Well, Kathleen, if people are listening and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to check her out, where can they find you?
Oh, Instagram's probably the best place at Kathleen Cameron Manifest, or YouTube, Kathleen Cameron.
Okay, guys, go
Yeah.
check her out. I'll leave her Instagram and YouTube links below this video. Be sure to go check her out. Kathleen, thank you so much. I love you so much. And we'll talk.
Appreciate you. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to today's episode on Manifesting Made Simple with Maddie Rose. If today's episode rang true for you, I only ask one thing. Please screenshot, tag, and share your biggest aha moment with me on Instagram. I can't wait to hear. Until next time, hold your head, thoughts, and vibrations high.